you were my client and you were talking to me about purchasing a home within the next 12 months, here's what I would tell you to do. Number one, save money. You're gonna need money for your down payment. That's gonna be the largest portion of the expenses you're gonna have throughout this process. Your down payment can be as little as 0%. There are a lot of down payment assistance programs. There are a lot of specialty loan programs. And if you can swing it, you wanna have 5% to put down. The reason being is that this is gonna put you into kind of our Cadillac loan program. This is going to save you the largest amount of money in the long run. 5% is kind of your golden entry point, if you will. Now, if you've got the ability, if you can get up to 20% down, that's when you really get into saving some serious coin. So you're definitely gonna wanna make sure that you have money saved for your down payment. Next thing you're gonna need money saved for are closing costs. So in addition to putting the money down on your home, you're gonna have various costs associated with setting up the mortgage. Things like origination fees, things like a credit reporting fee. Your home's gonna need an appraisal most likely. There's a fee for that. If you are working with us here in Illinois, you will most likely be working with a real estate attorney. It is the best legal counsel and the most affordable legal counsel you will ever get. That's gonna be a fee that's gonna be associated with it. There's a handful of other costs associated with your closing costs, things like insurance, things like prepayment on interest. There's a lot of different things that you have to have money saved for by way of your closing costs. Closing costs on a loan here in Illinois, typically speaking, I recommend 3% to have saved for that. That said, that usually ends up being a little bit of a padded amount, especially if you're closing later in the year, but it's a good jumping off point for your planning purposes. You're gonna need money for your home inspection. Your home inspection is something that you do a few days after going under contract. Basically, it's when you bring in a non-biased third party into the property to go through it with a fine-tooth comb. They're gonna look at the roof, they're gonna look at the mechanicals, they're gonna get into the attic, they're gonna go through all of these details to make sure that you understand the full picture of the property that you're purchasing. Cost for that will vary anywhere from $400 to $1,000 depending on the scope of the inspection. It's the one time during the process that you get to actually do this and potentially recoup any expenses or handle any problems on the front end. The other thing that a lot of people don't think about is the cost of furnishing your home. And it's not just the big things that you think about. A lot of people are aware of the fact that they're gonna need maybe a couch or a kitchen table, but there's a lot of smaller things that go into it. I'll never forget the first time I bought a townhouse and I was astonished at how much money I spent on bathroom gear. So rugs for the bathroom, waste paper baskets for the bathroom, all of these little items that you likely haven't thought of. These are various costs that are gonna go into it that you are going to be spending either way, so planning for them and being prepared for them on the front end is only gonna serve you well. Second thing you need to do if you're looking to purchase a home within the next 12 months is maximize your credit score. Having the highest credit score possible when it comes to securing your mortgage is going to save you money in the long run. If you're in a conventional loan, you are going to be very heavily rewarded by way of a lower interest rate for the stronger credit score that you have. The way that you can maximize your credit score in the short term are going to be things like paying off debts, making sure that you are current on all of your payments, that you are paying things on time, and looking at the utilization on your credit card. So typically speaking, credit companies want to see that you are utilizing less than 30% of your total credit line. Another thing that I would tell you if you were asking me what you should do to prepare to purchase a home in the next 12 months is think about how long you plan on living in that home. Is this a forever home? Is this a starter home? Is this a home that you're gonna live in until your kids are in school? Is this a home that you want to stay in until you're no longer paying for daycare fees? I will tell you this, in my experience, most people are in their first home shorter than they think they're going to be. Just take it with a grain of salt. Everybody moves into it, especially if you're buying a single family home. People expect to live in that home for the next 20 years. Typically speaking, I don't see that happen. And the reason being is that it's hard to know what you're gonna need for your life and what's gonna fit your needs when you're in a period of rapid changes in life. One of the things to think about is how long you're going to be in that property. Are you going to be in that property just for a year or two? Are you going to be in it for a longer period of time? And the reason you want to know that is because one, it's going to dictate what your wants and needs are. It's going to make it more clear what is a need versus what is a want. And it's also going to help us to guide you in figuring out what property makes sense for you. A property that's going to struggle to resell isn't going to be a smart buy if you're going to be living there for only 2 years. If you're going to live in the home for the next 15 to 20 years, I'm not as concerned about resale. We'll figure that out down the line. We'll find the property that fits your goals right now and that gets you what you want and what you need. Once you've figured out how long you intend to be in the property, we're gonna start talking about what it is that you want in the home. If you're planning on purchasing a home in the next 12 months, is start thinking through your needs and your wants. Your needs are gonna be items that if it's not there, it's a deal breaker. It may be something like a 2-car garage versus a 1-car garage. That's a need. That's a need to have. Then there's the difference between a nice to have. For example, a 3-car garage versus a 2-car garage. That may be a nice to have. Maybe you have 2 cars and you want a space for your lawnmower, your yard work, all of those items. That's a want. On the flip side, if you have 2 cars and you also have a yard to maintain, you may need a 2-car garage. So starting to think through and really identifying what is a need versus what is a want. It's going to save you a lot of time and energy down the line. It's also going to allow us to narrow in on what makes sense to you. If you start thinking about these things now, when we sit down to plan your purchase, we're going to have a lot more direction. We're going to save you a lot of time, a lot of energy, and potentially a lot of emotional challenges as we go through this process.